I'm so excited to be here today and to welcome the families of the class of 2027. Thank you very, very much for being here, for watching this video and allowing us to share some thoughts with you that we hope will be useful to you and to your student as you navigate the next few days. So my name is Suzanne Raitt and I am the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. I started my career as a professor of English, and for many, many years I taught English courses here at William & Mary. So I have encountered thousands of students on their first day at William & Mary. I've watched them grow through their 4 years here, and I'm really excited to be able to do the same thing for your students this year and in the years to come.
And my name is Alana Davis, and I am the Associate Provost and University Registrar here at William & Mary. I don't have the experience of having been in your shoes, but I do have the experience of having been in your students' shoes. I'm a 2001 graduate of William & Mary, and so my family has been in your position, watching me transition to this institution and seeing me develop over my time as an undergraduate student here. And I'm very excited to be welcoming your students here to campus to do the same. The Office of the University Registrar, because that is often something that folks don't know what they do. We are an office that supports the student's educational experience by operationalizing the academic program. What that means is we're responsible for the systems and the processes like the registration process, grade submission, accessing academic records, posting the schedules and the calendars. We're responsible for maintaining the rules and regulations related to the academic program and for maintaining the integrity of the William & Mary degree. And I'm really looking forward to talking with you today about how the next few days will facilitate your students' academic experience.
Alana and I have, overlapping and complementary roles. What it means to be the dean of a faculty is that I'm responsible for faculty personnel management, so hiring and all of those things, trying to find really, really exciting people to go into the classroom, into the lab with your student. And I'm also responsible for the delivery of the undergraduate and graduate academic curriculum. So that's why Alana and I are partnering on this video. We hope to be able to give you a really full picture of what to expect over the next few days. The way that this video is going to be structured is it will mostly be me addressing your students' academic experience, and then I'll turn it over to Alana, who will talk to you about the mechanics, help you figure out, well, how can I support my student in registering for classes, and so on. So I'm going to start out by just talking a little bit about the kind of education that your student can expect to get here at William & Mary. And I know that you've probably all spent the last, well, I suppose, hopefully you were spared having to do this for many, many months. But I know that applying to university, choosing where you want to go, trying to figure out the difference between University A and University B can be a really time-consuming and stressful experience. And I know that all of you probably had your own very specific reasons for choosing William & Mary for your student. So I'm going to tell you what we're really proud of here and hope that this either matches your expectations or makes you even more excited at the experiences your student's going to have here over the next few years. So although William & Mary is not a private liberal arts college, as you all know, we pride ourselves on the combination of an undergraduate education that builds on the strengths of liberal arts and sciences education, while also providing the kind of experiences that you might be thinking you'd be more likely to have at a big research active university. Your undergraduates will take a really integrated curriculum that encourages them to have hands-on academic experiences, to study off campus, to do their own research, to work in someone's lab, and to bring all of those different components of their education together as they start to figure out what are the synergies between all of the different things that I'm doing here. We believe in learning through discovery, through asking questions, through working to find the answers with guidance from your faculty. And we also believe that coming to university is a whole person experience. So even though I'm sure you picked William and Mary partly because of the education you know your student will get here, I imagine that you're also thinking about your student as a person. How are they going to be supported as they grow and develop into the best version of themselves that they can be? And at William and Mary, we see the social, the emotional, the intellectual as part of a holistic experience in which we support your student from all sides. So I know that you've had the opportunity or will have the opportunity to learn more about the kind of student services that we offer here in terms of academic and other forms of support. And those presentations will be delivered by people from offices other than my own or Alana's. But we work very, very closely with the senior leaders in those offices to make sure that we all understand all of our students as the people they are and not simply as bodies sitting in a classroom. I'm going to talk next a little bit about how the Arts and Sciences Office is structured. I am at the top of the pyramid, a little bit like oil, fat, and sugar in the food pyramid. So although I don't intend to give the message that your student should avoid me at all costs or have only 1 tablespoonful of me every day, I am the person who manages the people who your student is more likely to come in contact with every day. So we have assistant deans who work directly with students and with faculty on the curriculum and on student support. We have vice deans who work directly with chairs and program directors and with the directors of our graduate programs to make sure that those are as effective and smoothly run as we want them to be. We have an associate dean for diversity, equity, and inclusion who makes sure that issues of inclusion are at the heart of everything that we do at William and Mary, whether it's student support or curricular development or faculty hiring and training. We have an associate dean of finance and administration who manages all our personnel services and manages our budget. And then we have me, the tablespoon of olive oil. I want to introduce one person on our team who your student is most likely to encounter or need on a day-to-day basis. And that is Assistant Dean for Undergraduate Education, Shelley Lorenzo. Shelley is the go-to person in my office for any questions that your student might have. There are lots of places that your student can go to get advice, and I probably wouldn't recommend that they come to Shelley first. I would rather suggest that they go to people with whom they're in the process of developing really close relationships. So their pre-major advisor should be their first port of call if they're having any issues at all, whether they are social, emotional, or academic. Their pre-major advisor should be the first port of call. We also offer all kinds of support services through the Dean of Students office. And if the issue that your student takes to the Dean of Students office is one that is really more academic in nature, the Dean of Students office will refer them to Shelley Lorenzo. But if you're in doubt, Shelley will always be able to find the right person for your student to talk to. So start with your pre-major advisor. Ask your pre-major advisor if they can help. If they can't, ask them who can. And if for some reason you can't find your pre-major advisor and you're in a crisis, then just come to our office, which is in Ewell Hall. It's the building with the white pillars on the front porch. We always have someone on front of house who will direct you where you need to go or direct your student where they need to go. I've talked a little bit about the kind of education that your student might receive here, and now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the co-curricular and extracurricular and the other forms of educational opportunities that we offer the students who come to us. I've already talked about how arts and sciences is an integrated way of thinking about education. In just a moment, I'm going to talk to you about the general education curriculum. But before I talk about that, I want to emphasize, first of all, that we don't see education as limited to sitting in the classroom and listening to a faculty member and your peers discuss something. We see education as an all-round experience. So while they're here, your student will have the opportunity to work as a research assistant for a historian who is exploring archives in a medieval library in Italy, for example. Your student will have the opportunity to join a lab. I visited one just the other day, in which undergraduates, graduate students, and faculty are working together to explore how to reduce antibiotic resistance in infections like chlamydia, Pseudomonas, and others whose names I either can't remember or can't pronounce. So we encourage your student to take advantage of those opportunities where they're going to be working in applied settings with faculty members and with teams of researchers to ask questions and collaborate on finding the answers. We also are very proud that we have the highest proportion of our undergraduate students at any public university in the United States studying abroad. We offer multiple study abroad experiences. Many of them are led by William and Mary faculty members. Some of them we partner with academic institutions overseas to create customized programs for our students who go and study there. We try to make sure that all of these experiences are open to all students, irrespective of family income, background, qualifications. We want as many of our students as possible to have these co-curricular experiences. We also offer co-curricular experiences in our arts departments, so your students will have the opportunity to participate in theatrical productions, in concerts. We have I'm not going to say that we have 2 choirs because I know that we have more than 2 choirs. We have more than 2 orchestral or musical ensembles. We have a whole range of folk and national music ensembles that your student can participate in. We offer individual instrumental lessons. We want to make sure that opportunities are open to your students across the board to expand their education in really personalized ways. We also have a center, a William and Mary Center in Washington, D.C., which offers semester-long summer and winter break experiences for your students that all involve some form of applied learning experience, such as internships. And when you do an internship through the Washington Center, you'll be supported through that experience. You'll be offered academic credit, not just for the internship, but also for associated courses in professional development and reflection. We take very seriously that you're paying a lot for your undergraduate student education, or many of you are, and all of you have invested time and effort in choosing William and Mary for your student. And we know that you want your student to be well prepared for whatever comes next, that you want your students to get an all-round education that will prepare them to be well-educated citizens of the world with all the transferable and soft skills that they're going to need to be successful in the workplace. And we know that you want your students to be career ready. So we focus our efforts not only on a range of academic preparation, but also on a range of preparation for careers. And that's where these co-curricular experiences come in. If your student wants to be a journalist, for example, we offer some journalism courses, but they can also participate in our student newspaper, The Flat Hat, and we've got thousands of students who've gone through that experience and then moved into communications of whatever kind. So we're very, very focused on making sure that your student leaves William and Mary, graduates from William and Mary with everything that they need to succeed. I'm just going to say one more thing about the different kinds of educational experiences that we provide before I turn to talking about the general education curriculum that all undergraduates have to complete at William and Mary. We do also have living learning communities. So let's say your student wants to become fluent in a foreign language. We have language houses that are immersive experiences for your student to join, to live in, and to participate in programming that goes way beyond what they're learning in the classroom and introduces them to a life that approximates, but is not exactly the same as what it might be like to be encountering and engaging with people who grew up in the country that they're seeking to experience. We also have another living learning community called the Sharp Living Learning Community, and those students engage in programming that's focused on social justice issues. So the message I want to give here is that education doesn't stop when your student walks out of the classroom where they've just had a course. It continues throughout their experiences at William and Mary. So let me turn now to the COL curriculum, which is what we call our general education curriculum. We developed this new curriculum around 10 years ago, and we've been continually refining, adding, and tweaking it since then. The COL curriculum, as you can see from the accompanying graphic, is designed, again, to integrate your students' experiences across all the different areas that they're going to explore. It's a skills-based curriculum, but it's also a content-based curriculum in that it will encourage your students to take interdisciplinary courses and to think about how all the disciplines intersect to give you really good problem-solving skills. In their first year, your student will take 2 COL courses. The first we call our COL 150, and that's our equivalent to the freshman writing seminar that you may have heard that other universities involve. Our model here is that we have COL 150 seminars offered across the curriculum. So we don't have a writing center that delivers Writing 101 in the way that some universities do. We want our COL 150 experiences to introduce students to both disciplinary methodologies and also to improving their general writing skills. So that's one of the courses that they'll take in their first year. The second course that they'll take in their first year is we call the COL 100. And those are big ideas courses, so focused on themes like revolution, water, twins, and the skill set that we aim to develop in those courses are communication skills that go beyond the written word. I mean, some of these skills involve the written word, for example, writing for the web, but we also train students in video editing, in presentations and oral communication. Some of these courses will introduce your student to podcasting, to infographics, to all the ways that in the 21st century your student is going to have some basic understanding of if they move into any field at all that involves communication. And frankly, most jobs involve communication more and more, not only within your team, but beyond it. We don't mandate that your students take these 2 courses in a particular order, but we require all students to complete both courses by the end of their first year, so that as they progress on through the curriculum and through their education, we know that they have achieved proficiency in these basic skills. In their second and third year, they will take COL 200 courses, and these courses are intentionally interdisciplinary. They are grounded in one discipline disciplinary area, but they reach out to at least one other. Your student will also be required to complete a Col 300 requirement, and these are our global requirements. If you happen to study abroad, that will fulfill that. But we also offer global courses on campus that your student can take if for whatever reason they can't study abroad. Although, as I said before, we try to make sure that all of our students have the opportunity to do that if they wish to. And then they'll finally take a capstone seminar. Most students take that seminar in the area of their major, but it's possible to take them outside of your major, and we encourage that where it makes sense. I should also note here that your student will be asked to declare a major usually by the end of their sophomore year. And students at William & Mary can declare 2 majors or a major and a minor. And we don't have any kind of limitation on the 2 majors that they can pair together. So one of the things we're really proud of is that we have students who, for example, have declared a major in physics and a major in music. About 12% of our students major in business through our partnership with the business school, and many of them also are double majoring. Overall, about 50% of our students are double majoring. And we see this as a sign of our success in encouraging students to think across disciplines rather than simply within one discipline. And now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Alana, and she's going to talk to you about what your student can expect over the next few days.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. I will say, I'm hoping that at this point you're excited about the opportunities that your students are going to be experiencing in this first semester and over the next 4 years of their undergraduate education. But I expect there's also some anxiety or some curiosity about how we're going to make that happen, right? How is your student going to be able to make that happen? You know that they are arriving to campus without a full and complete schedule of courses yet. You don't yet know what they're going to be taking in their first semester. So seeing this exciting educational opportunity become a reality is still a step or 2 away. So I'm going to talk you through how we're going to facilitate that for your student and how they're going to engage in that process for themselves. So the first thing I want to remind you of is that your student has been engaging in this process over the course of the summer. They completed a college studies course via Blackboard this summer as part of their introduction to William & Mary. And in that, they were engaging in some academic planning and thinking through the courses that they want to be taking in the experiences that they want to have as a William & Mary student. They registered for 2 courses this summer via Banner, which is the registration system that students will engage with. And so they already have a foundational schedule in place as they arrive here on campus. Over the course of their orientation weekend, they're going to continue to do some of that academic planning, revisiting the plan that they made via college studies, looking at Banner for available courses, and coming up with some options that they wish to discuss with their faculty advisor when they have the opportunity to meet later in the orientation weekend. On Monday, they will actually meet with that faculty advisor, their pre-major advisor. Remember that this is a pre-major advisor, so it's okay if that advisor isn't in a field that the student thinks that they're going to be potentially majoring in. These advisors are excited to be working with your incoming students and are very well prepared and engaged in that pre-advising process. So they want to be working with your students as they are discerning their interests, getting excited about their academic plans and opportunities, and helping figure out that path that they're going to go down. When they meet with that faculty advisor, they're going to review the courses that they initially registered for over the summer. They're going to develop a plan of potential courses that they can register for when registration opens up for them. And they're going to come up with a list of backup options. And it is important to have alternative options in the registration experience. Students, after meeting with that faculty advisor, will receive a PIN number that will allow them to register. And their registration will occur the following morning, Tuesday morning, in their assigned registration period. They will use that PIN number to access their courses, and they'll be able to register for their full-time course load of 12 to 16 credit hours. Later that afternoon, the campus-wide add drop period opens for all students. So all undergraduate students will then be able to go in and make changes to their schedules, and that add drop period remains open through September 11th. So that means students aren't held to the courses that they originally register for, and they have opportunities to continue to look through those. Once add drop, begins, they can make those changes, and then classes begin for students on Wednesday morning. I think one thing that's important to remember, and this is where the zen of registration comes in, is that it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. Students should approach it calmly. They don't need to be panicked when registering for classes. They should be open-minded about their experiences and their opportunities that they have in front of them. And they should remember that they have a lot of semesters ahead of them still as well. So they may be very hopeful for something in their very first semester, and it's okay if that doesn't work out that time. There's a lot of opportunities for that to keep coming. I'm mindful of some things that Suzanne said when she was speaking about the interdisciplinarity of programs and the opportunities that students have to engage in somewhat unrelated majors, right? They may choose to major in two programs that aren't related to each other. Sometimes that happens organically through these sorts of registration experiences. My own experience was very similar to that. I came to William & Mary as an undergraduate student intending to major in kinesiology, and I did that. I do have a major in kinesiology, but one registration period, I encountered a challenge, a roadblock, and I registered for introductory philosophy course that hadn't been on my radar of something that I needed to complete or wanted to pursue, but I did it because it was available and it applied to some things that I was still trying to fulfill in my curricular requirements, and I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I thought from there, well, I could take 2 courses in this, and from there I thought I could minor in this, and from there I thought I could totally major in this, and I ended up with a second major in philosophy. And it's not something I would have ever envisioned for myself coming into my educational experience, but it's something that fit me perfectly and made me excited and engaged in my learning experience. And so reminding students that these opportunities are available and open to them, and that there's a lot more opportunity than there was in their high school curriculum. So things that they were used to seeing offered, there's so much more to choose from. And to keep that kind of expansive mindset when approaching the registration process, really wonderful things can happen through that. So they're going to go through that process. They're going to be open-minded. They're going to be ready to go. They're going to have a plan, but be flexible. And they're ultimately going to come out of that registration experience with 12 to 16 credit hours. Then you're probably wondering, well, how are they going to get the materials that they need for their courses? Do we buy books? How do we go about this? So first thing to note is that within Banner, where your student is registering for classes, is a link directly to the campus bookstore, the William & Mary bookstore. Students should follow that link, because when they link to the William & Mary bookstore through Banner, it brings their schedule information with them. They will automatically be brought to the list of courses, the list of courses they've registered for, and the texts or other course materials that are going to be required for the courses that they've registered for. You can register, you can purchase your books right through the William & Mary bookstore website, pay for them there, and then the books will be delivered and the student will receive notification of where to pick those up here on campus. Barnes & Noble is the affiliate for the William & Mary bookstore, and they do price match. So we do encourage students to use the William & Mary bookstore option when purchasing their books, in part because they price match. So you should be able to find them for comparable prices that you would elsewhere. But to remember that the mailroom can be really hectic in the first few weeks of campus. So if you're ordering from a third party, whatever that might be, they have to be delivered to the mailroom. sorted, and you don't want your students to be starting at a deficit with whether or not their textbooks are available. So just remembering that it might be a little easier and more conducive to preparation for the first day of classes to order through that bookstore. A lot of our faculty members are also engaging with open educational resources now, and a lot of other accessible course materials that aren't necessarily things that will need to be purchased through the bookstore. So we do encourage students also to review their syllabus or their syllabi via Blackboard to see what other materials they may need to have for their courses. Most of those or all of those would be then open educational resources or course materials made available to them through that Blackboard site. I've mentioned a few systems that may or may not sound familiar to you as the family members of students, but I want to make sure to highlight a few of those. The first thing you heard me mention was Banner. Banner is the system where your student will engage in registration, where they will review their grades, where they will be able to see holds on their academic records, where they will be able to order their books and to find what they need there. Your student has already engaged with Banner because that is where they went to register for those first couple of courses, and they will become very familiar with using it as they progress through their semester. So that option should, or that system should seem familiar to your students. The second one that I mentioned was Blackboard. Blackboard was the system where your student logged in and engaged in that college studies course over the summer, and it is the learning management platform where your student will engage with the materials that they need for the courses for which they're registered. There's also DegreeWorks, which is a system that is also accessible to all of our students, and that's where they're going to be tracking their progress towards degree completion, seeing requirements that they have fulfilled, seeing what they still have ready to complete as they're continuing to progress through their graduation requirements up until their semester where they're preparing for commencement. It is important to remember that these student systems are accessible via the student's William & Mary ID, user ID, and that we expect that all William & Mary communication, all official communication with the institution will be conducted from the student's William & Mary email address. So your student, if they're not already in practice of using their William & Mary email address, that should be the address they use if they have to reach out to campus offices, if they have to reach out to their faculty members, their advisors. Anything that they're doing official at the institution should be done via that William & Mary email address. All of these platforms can be accessed by the students by visiting their mywm.edu site. So have your students engage with that site. All of the systems that they'll need will be available to them there. I'm going to shift now to planning ahead for things to come. So your student is registered for classes. We know, they get through that orientation week. We know they're registered for classes. What comes next? First and foremost for you, remember that there is a family parent orientation session, like a connections fair, where you're going to get to interface with different folks from different offices. I will be there, and folks from a lot of offices on campus will be there in case you have questions or want to talk through any of your concerns or make sure something is been taken care of or have a question answered. That's the Friday morning of orientation week, which is that Friday, August 25th. Fall break for your students is going to be Thursday, October 12th through Sunday, October 15th. So you will be able to welcome them home or welcome them to wherever you're going to be together and hear about how all of their exciting first few weeks in their classes are going, October 12th through October 15th. Thanksgiving week, just a special note here, students are able to travel home the weekend prior to Thanksgiving, but Monday and Tuesday are remote learning days. It is important to remember that your students should expect to be engaging in coursework on that Monday and Tuesday, and that you should be expecting and your students to engage in coursework on that Monday and Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. So we know you're going to be very excited to have them home and want to spend this time with them, but remember they will be engaged in coursework those first few days. We also recommend that as you're thinking about travel home at the end of the semester, that you don't make travel plans and flight plans for your students until after the end of the add drop period. So students will be taking final exams, and travel home for The winter break is not a valid reason for missing a final exam. So while your students may register for a course or for their full slate of courses during this open orientation period, remember that they have add drop through September 11th. So they may decide they want to make a change to their schedule or add something new or remove a course from their schedule. So just don't solidify those travel dates until they have their class schedule finalized and you've looked at when those final exam periods are going to be. We want to make sure that they attend those and complete those final exams. Advising and registration for the spring semester will happen in October when your students return to campus from fall break. And then the spring semester will begin Wednesday, January 24th. So you're already going to be gearing up for that spring semester by mid-October. There's a lot of information there, and there are a lot of resources to help you remember those dates. There's academic calendars available on the University Registrar website. Your students will have access to all of these dates, so you're not expected to remember them based on this presentation, but we do want to make sure that you've heard those and have some context for those dates and how these logistics are going to work. And that's kind of the basic logistics of that intro experience for your students as they acclimate and get started on their academic program.
Thank you, Alana.
Thank you.
So I want to emphasize that your student will probably have lots of questions over the next few days. And as I said, they should go to their pre-major advisor if they have questions. Alana and I are now going to model asking someone else a question by asking each other the kinds of questions that we have received from families at previous orientations that have been in person, and so people have had an opportunity to ask questions. If you have a question that we don't address during this presentation, then feel free to ask your student to ask their pre-major advisor. The pre-major advisors should have all of the information that you need, and if they don't, they'll know where to send your student. So I'm now going to pretend to be an attendee at this in-person presentation, and I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to ask Alana a question. So, Alana, I am worried that my student may not be able to get into all the classes they want during registration, because I've definitely heard that sometimes happens. How do we manage that? I mean, what should my student do?
I think that it's important to be prepared for that, Suzanne, as a possibility, because sometimes that does happen. And so I'm not going to pretend like your student will certainly get into every course that is on their wish list. But I will stress that zen of registration experience that, first of all, students have time. There are multiple semesters between now and graduation. And I'm going to stress something that you said in your presentation, which was they have a lot of flexibility with those call courses. They're not required to take them in a particular order. They can take the 100 and 150, there's 2 of them, but they have to take them in their first year. It doesn't have to be taken in that first semester and in that first moment, and this one before this one, or these at the same time. The same is going to be true with some of those introductory courses that they want to take in their major. If they don't take it in the fall, they may be able to take it in the spring semester. If it's not now, that doesn't mean it's never. And that the opportunities that come sometimes with not getting into the thing that you thought you were going to take are really exciting. It might introduce your student into a field that they didn't know that they wanted to take classes in. It might introduce them to a field that they think they don't want to take classes in, and then they try it and they find out this is the right thing for me, and I'm so glad I had this opportunity. Thankfully, I wasn't able to get into that first choice class that I thought I wanted. They will probably get into mostly things that they do want or need. And so it is okay, and they just need to take a deep breath, rely on those backup plans that they made, and then remember that there are still advising opportunities available to them in this experience. So maybe it doesn't go according to plan on Tuesday when they go to register for those classes. So they can go to the Office of Undergraduate Academic Affairs, which has general advisors which are able to engage with the students and help them make some of these decisions. So there are so many resources available to students to help them kind of work through some of these questions, and they're going to go through and they're going to be fine.
I see. So I think what you're saying is just don't worry, and if you can, see it as an opportunity for your students.
That's exactly
to
what I was
broaden
saying.
their mind.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Lorna.
But I'm going to then come back to something that I said there and channel parents and families from a different perspective and say, I have just received the advice that I should direct my student to their faculty advisor if they have questions, or I know they're going to be needing to ask their faculty members questions at some point during this first semester. But what do I do if my student is intimidated to reach out to these people and is feeling a little scared about doing so, or doesn't know how to start those conversations? How do I encourage them through that intimidation?
Well, of course, we know it can be daunting for students to approach somebody that they don't know very well and perhaps have never had a one-on-one conversation with. But all the faculty who work at William & Mary came to William & Mary because they wanted a job that really combined undergraduate teaching and research. So we like it when students ask us questions. If they don't ask us questions, we don't know where they might be struggling. I want to mention, because there may be some people watching this who aren't familiar with this phrase, that all our faculty members will hold office hours. And an office hour is when they sit with their door open and anybody can come and ask them pretty much anything. You may find that you have to make an appointment, but for most faculty that's not the case. And I'm a faculty member, and I can tell you that there is nothing sadder and lonelier than holding an office hour to which nobody comes. So your students should feel completely empowered and welcome to approach their faculty member in whatever way makes most sense to them. Maybe they email them if they are not yet ready to meet them in person. Maybe they wait after class and ask them a question. Maybe they attend their office hour. But I think that your message to them as families should be, you belong, you were accepted, you have a right to ask questions, and what's more, we want you to ask questions. We want you to share your experiences with us. We want you to tell us if you are not sure what to do about a particular assignment. That's why we're here. That's our job. So, of course, some students are less willing to do that than others. But our message to you is, please encourage and support them in reaching out.
So what you're telling me is that I should tell my student to not be afraid, to remember that they are in fact a student.
Yes.
And that their faculty members want to be engaging with them as their teachers.
Yeah.
And don't expect you to know everything at every moment, and that it's good and okay to ask those questions.
Totally. And in fact, your student being open and willing to do that helps us be better teachers. And, you know, we all want to continually improve. So your student can provide that opportunity for us.
I think that's great.
And Alana, I'm now going to ask you a question.
Okay.
So I'm a family member and I've come to campus. I'm dropping my student off. I'm helping them unpack their stuff, move into their dorm room. They're excited, they're a little nervous, and they know that they're going to be here for the next 4 years. How would you advise me to support my student, both over these first few weeks, but also long term? And I will mention here that I know that you've been doing research in this area.
I have been.
As part of your graduate work. So not only are you the ideal person to ask this question because of your job, but also because of the expert knowledge that you have as a scholar.
Well, So this is a topic that I love to talk about, and I am very excited to answer this question for you. I think when supporting your student, it is very important to communicate with them. You should ask them what classes they're registered for. You should ask them what they're learning in their courses as they're going through the semester, how they're acclimating to their educational experience. If there are things that they're struggling with, if there are questions that they have, if there are things that they're super excited about and they just want to share with you. And I think having that engagement and that dialogue helps your student to process that, helps them to feel supported when they're away from you potentially for the very first time in their life, and to feel like they have a partner. Or one of their partners in that process. I think, though, what is very important to remember as well is that your student will engage best in their academic experience and will get the most out of that academic experience when they're also accountable for that academic experience, and allowing them to make the choices about their classes, to maybe try a major that you hadn't thought was going to be the pathway that they were going to go down, but reminding yourself to be open-minded in that conversation as well, to remind your student of the resources available to them, encourage them to talk with their faculty members, encourage them to reach out to the offices that can be supportive of them, and allow them to take ownership over that experience, which allows them to grow into that experience and to be more comfortable over the course of their 4 years. They may transition really smoothly in their first year and hit a bump in the road in their sophomore or junior year. So you don't have to anticipate that it'll all happen right away, right? But I think as they progress, they learn more of those skills to be able to navigate through those challenges as well over the course of their 4 years. I think it's important to remember that we want your student to succeed here. We want your student to graduate from here, to have that degree to be meaningful to them, to have the knowledge that they have obtained here to be meaningful to them. And so we're here to support that process. And so supporting them for you can sometimes look like reminding them of that. I also think it's really important to remember sometimes you're going to hear the worst from your student. They're not going to call you or text you when every good thing happens. You're going to hear them when they're stressed out about something. You're going to hear when something didn't go well. And I think it's very important for families to remember that you're often the sounding board for the negative without hearing every aspect of the positive. So sometimes that experience can feel more overwhelming than it actually is. And to just kind of keep that perspective going through. I think that if your student is regularly communicating to you negative things and you're not hearing positive things, that doesn't mean they're having a terrible experience. They could be having a great experience, but they are just using you the way they always have to get those things off of their chest. And when you're not there with them, you can't watch that happening. So to kind of keep that mindset as you go, and then really and truly to remember that your student has a lot of support systems in place, and they are going to have such an incredible academic experience here and life experience here that allowing that to happen is important.
That is such good advice, and I'm remembering an experience that when I was an undergraduate a long time ago, one of my friends had. Not all students call home, and not all students call home often. And my friend Adam phoned his mum one time from a phone box in England, no cell phones then, and he said, "Hi Mum, it's Adam." And she said, "Who?" And he said, "It's Adam." And she said, "Adam?" And he said, "Yeah, Adam, your son." And she said, "You are totally right. We did have a son called Adam, but then he went to university and was never heard from again." So don't worry if you don't hear from your student.
That's also true too.
Yeah. So Alana, what do you hope that families will take away from the video that we're making today?
I think for me, I hope that families take away that William & Mary is a place that is going to help your students get to where they need to go when your students are engaged in that process, and that The logistics are going to work out. They're going to start their first semester of classes. They're going to work through that first semester and on through the rest of their academic experience, and they're going to be prepared to do so. How about you? What do you hope they take?
Well, I certainly hope that you all will take away the ideas, the attitudes that Alana has just described. I think that what I would like to feel you will take from this video is that the next 4 years are going to be a unique and exciting time in your student's life, which doesn't mean that they're going to be, I mean, of course, you know this, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be happy 100% of the time. And it doesn't mean that they're going to be confident 100% of the time, because what you're going to see is enormous growth over the next 4 years, both personally, emotionally, and academically. Learning is supposed to be difficult. If something is not difficult, it means that you already on some level knew it. So you're going to watch these people go through all of the excitement, elation, difficulty, confusion, frustration, and dismay that is involved in growing up. And we are here holding their hand, supporting them, but also encouraging them to develop the independence that they're going to need when they leave university and get a job and are fully fledged adults. We are so grateful to you for lending your student to us for 4 years, and we're so excited to watch with you as they grow and finish up their time at William & Mary. Thank you so much for watching our video, and welcome again to your students and to you.